Hi, I'm Mary Kelly, Professor of Office Administration, Pasco Hernandez State College, and in this video I'm going to show you how to go in and comment and make changes to a document that's already been set for you to collaborate on. Now, this is a document, an actual document that I got from one of the teams. I'm not going to tell you which one. And so I'll go in and I'm gonna, first of all, I'm gonna make it's private only to me. So I'm gonna go in here and show you again how to share it. But I'm gonna click on share, and I'm gonna click on advanced, and I'm gonna change this so that anybody with the link can edit this document. And when you turn your documents in to me, that's the way it should be set. And then when you're collaborating on your document within your teams, that's the way it should be set. So I'm going to come into this document and I'm going to proofread it, which everybody in your team, no matter who writes an original document or who writes a certain part of the document or whatever, every single person in the team is responsible for proofreading that document and viewing the final version before the team leader submits it to me. So everybody signed off on it. Everybody has said, I see absolutely no errors on it. So I want everybody responsible for proofreading, even though in your teams from here on out, now we're looking at the project that you did in Module 3, and I gave you some specific deadlines in that project. But as a team, you're setting up your own deadlines, and the ultimate, the final say-so as far as deadlines comes with the team leader, even though everybody in the team should have input on deadlines and things. The team leader, because the team leader has to be the one that finally submits it to me and also submits that team participation form. So that's just a little background on what you're doing. But what the purpose of this is I want to show you how to comment on the document and how to make corrections to it. This has been submitted to me and it has a lot of errors in it. So I am the final say-so as far as where the errors are, because I do the final proofreading. I do the final proofreading when I'm grading your work. But by the time it gets to me, what all of you want is you want to have that document perfect. So when Mary Kelly, the professor, is grading it, she finds no errors, and then you get 100. The team gets 100, because if I find errors, then it's going to make your score lower. So let's read. This is the way I'm doing it. I'm demonstrating how I do it. The name of the company from which I picked up my sample of the business communication was the YMCA of the Sun Coast. That sentence seems okay. I had my eyes peeled for letters I could find, and while picking up my younger brothers from school, I came across this. A comma goes right after school. I'm not going to stop and explain why. Okay, if you want to know why, that's just another subject for something else. But the way I'm going to comment on it is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on comments, and then I'm going to click on comment. And I'm going to say insert comma. And I'm going to comment. Now, if I actually wanted to go in there and insert the comma, I could just type it in and boom, it's there. Okay? You don't know who inserted it. The way you actually should edit the document when you're going through it as you're editing it, you should see something that you want to make a change to, and then over here to the side you should insert the comment, and so then everybody knows who inserted that comma. So I'm going to go forward. The business document is considered an informative business letter because of the style in which it is written. The writer of this letter used a template that can be found on Microsoft Word. Words should be capitalized. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to capitalize that W. Now, when I capitalize that W, it doesn't tell you who made that change. So as you're editing the documents in the team, what I want you to do is when you make a change, I want you to come up here and click on comment, and then click on comment again, and I'm going to say capitalized word, and I'm going to click on comment. So that tells everybody that I'm the one that made that change. This business letter is formatted correctly. The letter is sensitive to the needs of the audience in the way that it addresses the families of the reader. Good attitude, politeness, and language are used, and the writer established their credibility by volunteering information about past education. There should be a comma after use. So I'm going to put in the comma. I'm going to come over here to comments. I'm going to click on comment, and I'm going to say insert comma, because that's what I did. I'm going to click on comment. So anybody that follows me that's in the team, they know that I made that change. Then I'm going to go ahead and read. The style of the writing was controlled and maintained throughout the entire letter, giving a good sense of consistency. The use of the semicolon was unnecessary. Instead, it should be read. It should read. Well, this should be a period or a semicolon, because this is really a run-on sentence. So I'm going to back this up. I'm going to make it a period. And I'm going to take out that word instead. I'm going to make this clearer and more concise. The use of a semicolon was unnecessary. It should read, and then it goes on and says it should read. So I can let my other team members know what I've done. I'm going to click on comments. I'm going to click on comment, and I'm going to say down here in my comments, broke into 2 sentences, was a run-on, and that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say I put in the period and all that, but it just says what I did. I'm going to say put it right there, because somebody else may come along and say, no, I don't really think it should be that way. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole thing. I'm going to jump over and look at this copy of the same document, because in this document I have really already gone through this one, and I have marked up what I think is the best way to say things. In fact, look at all these comments that I've made over here. When I grade your work, when I get your final work, the reason I want a clean copy is because you see all these comments I've made? Sometimes I even rewrite sentences for you. And the reason I do that is because I want you to understand what you did wrong. And what you really should do, I may not be explaining why a comma goes someplace or whatever. You need to go back to the back of the book and the appendix and start looking at the rules. You may just say, oh, I see why that comma should have gone there. But you need to go back to the back of the book, to the appendix where it's on the grammar and the punctuation, and you study up on that as we move through the class. Or you ask me a question and I may have to explain it to you or whatever. But hopefully what is going to happen in your teams, what you're actually doing is you're peer reviewing. You're taking, a peer is somebody you work with, and you're looking at each other's work before you let it go out. I actually had a job a long, long time ago. I was a secretary, and there were 3 of us secretaries that worked in this same little area, and each of us had a different boss. I was an executive secretary, and I worked for the president of the company. The other 2 worked for other vice presidents of the company. I think it was vice presidents. It's a long time ago. This was in I think the late 70s. Anyway, the thing is that when we wrote letters or anything that went outside of that company, what we did is the other 2 would proofread it, just to make absolutely sure that we weren't sending something out with an error in it. I mean, I later had a job where I wrote and rewrote and edited insurance and annuity policies. and I was the one that had to sign off on these things, and it was very expensive. It was very expensive if I made a mistake and it went to the printer. And so sometimes I would have somebody check behind me and do some proofreading, but ultimately I was the one that had to sign off on that. So anyway, it can be very, very important that you have multiple eyes looking at something so that you don't make mistakes. And so I even in my job right now today working for the college, sometimes I am writing in a team with other people. And we actually use sometimes the Google Docs. It seems to be easier because we can go in there and we'll be working on the same document rather than typing it in Word, saving the file, emailing it to somebody, having them make corrections, emailing it back. If we all have it, everybody can be online. Everybody in your team, y'all could be on the telephone and have the phone on speaker. And if you knew how to do this, if you know how to set it to where you're doing like a conference call so you have multiple people on the phone at one time, all of you could have this document in front of you on your computers. If you can arrange a time that everybody can get together, you can be looking at it. Different people can be making corrections. And if I'm making a correction here, I come up and, well, there's supposed to be a comma after this, and I put in a comma there, and I'm talking to you on the phone. I can say, okay, a comma goes there. We're reading it together. We're proofreading it. You could type in something else, and at the same time we're seeing everything on the screen, and it's automatically being saved. So what you then do after you get all of the corrections, the team leader has to take that copy and paste whatever the final copy is over to a new document, and then the team leader sends out that final document and says, okay, this is what I'm getting ready to turn in to Professor Kelly for her to grade. Does anybody see any errors? And so if everybody says we don't see any errors, that's the time for it to be turned in to me. So you have to budget your time. This next one on Module 4 is due on October the 4th. Budget your time so it can come in to me on time, okay? This is the end of this presentation, and just send me questions if you have them.